Good evening, Dominica, the Caribbean, and the rest of the world, and welcome back to another episode of Roots Connections on Q, right here on Q95, the big station. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, it is great to be in your company for our number one program where we see that change is the only constant. So here on Roots Connection, we feature the change makers in our community, the visionaries among us who are not sitting by the sideline talking about what we should do, but instead they are in the front line, walking the talk and showing us what happens when we all turn that passion we have for Dominica into action for the development of our country, our region, and our people around the world, despite all the challenges and obstacles we face. We continue to witness how quickly the world around us is changing. So here on Roots Connections, we engage with our visionaries as we explore topics such as the changes we should be concerned about, the changes we should be taking advantage of, and what changes we need to make in order to move our Caribbean region, our people at home and abroad, forward. So welcome to the program. This is episode number 109 of Roots Connections, and I am your host, Dr. Simone Mathieu. As always, we have another packed program for you as we continue to focus on positively impacting our Caribbean region and the world, especially as it relates to the sustainable development of our beautiful island and our people. So today is no exception. We have another engaging program for you, and we're looking forward to your contribution to the program. And we will be looking at, can the Bouyon princess be a non-Bouyon artist? So a very suspicious question. So one that raised quite some controversy on Facebook, and we will explain what we're talking about in a little bit. But in essence, what we're going to be discussing this evening is the successes and challenges of Dominica's evolving cultural industry in 2026 and beyond. And we are very happy to be joined by Mr. Sobus Esprit, who is an independent consultant in the creative industry and tourism. And he's also the deputy chairman of Discover Dominica Authority. We have Mr. Glen Bannis out there in Houston, who is from Global Creole Music Festival and Pemples Entertainment, and someone who needs no introduction if you're on Facebook. We have Mr. Narrin, Trendsetter Murphy, Calypsonia, banker, and social media influencer. We were also expecting the 2026 Calypso King of Dominica, Mr. Chester Daddy Chess later, but unfortunately he has an emergency that he has to deal with right now. So hopefully we will be able to engage him in a subsequent program. But before we get started on the program, let us always remember to pray for our beautiful island, Dominica, and the challenges and battles that we continue to face in so many areas. As always, we are grateful to you, our worldwide audience, and we look forward to your contribution to the discussion, whether you're joining us on the radio, on Q95 FM radio, or you're on Facebook and YouTube. So on Facebook, we are on live at Q95 FM radio, as well as Push Past 10, and on YouTube at Q95 FM radio. So don't forget to share the live, let everyone know that we're here, and click the notification button so you will never miss when we go live. Good evening to you, Lambi. Thank you for being on the console. A pleasant good evening to Mr. G, Sherwin Norris, and the rest of the Q95 family, and for all the work that you do. So as we get started, let's give a warm Roots Connections welcome to our guests as we thank them for taking time out of their busy schedules to join us here on the program. And while they're giving us their introductions, I will go ahead and share the program to everyone who is listening. So we've already had Glen and Sobers on the program, but this is the first time that Narrin, Trendsetter, is joining us. So we will give him the first bat. So Narrin, for those who have been living under a rock and they don't know who you are, just give us a brief introduction of who you are, and I'll share the link to everyone who's waiting.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, listeners to the Roots Connection program right here on Q95. I'm Narrin Murphy. I would say a very quiet individual, often mistaken for a non-quiet individual. I welcome the opportunity tonight, as I indicated this morning on my podcast. For me, being in the company of such esteemed gentlemen and people with experience, I consider tonight to be a learning experience for me. So I am here all ears and to share. So I thank you for the opportunity and I look forward to the conversation. I will also say, in as much as Daddy Chess, my Calypso colleague, cannot sit in, I think I will act as the monarch tonight. I
Why
think I'll
we
be the
not
act.
like Narrin?
Yeah, but thanks for the opportunity, Dr. Mathieu, and I look forward to the conversation.
Yes, definitely. And then we'll go over to Sobers. And Sobers, I want to personally thank you because we've been on this journey for a long time. We
Yeah.
go way back when we first started Roots Connections, and you've always been willing to engage in these conversations and how we
Yeah,
can move the cultural industry forward. So thank you for always being a part of the program. You want to give a quick introductory remark?
yeah. Well, okay. So as you said, I am currently I work as an independent consultant in the areas of the creative industries and some tourism work. I also do some media work because I have training and experience in media and journalism. But I think people know me more from the work that I've done with in tourism, mainly through the National Development Corporation. I served up until I was the director of tourism acting for a couple of years. But before that, I was involved in public relations, tourism awareness, and marketing in tourism. I also worked for the OECS Commission as a specialist in creative industries for a number of years. Before that, in my youth, I worked in theater, popular theater mainly. And of course, I think, although I keep saying I work in tourism and cultural industries, I think a lot of people know me for the work that I've done in festivals. I was a founding member of the Dominica Festivals Commission, and I still continue to work with the Festivals Commission in some way because as a board member of Discover Dominica. So my life has been in the area of the arts and culture as well as community development.
Yes, and we're grateful for your service to country. Yes, and Glenn, thank you for being here. Another great supporter of the program and the work that we do on Roots Connections on Q. So, Glenn, thank you for being here. Give us a little introduction.
My name is Glen Bannis, of course, from Dominica, born and raised over there. Migrated a couple of years ago, 20 odd years. Used to be a teacher back then, went to the Dominica Grammar School. So I still got lots of connection back home. Um, Up in Houston, I promote the culture pretty much, entertain in form of entertainment and the real culture. The president of Dominica Houston Association, the last term, just gave up that position. So I'm pretty much versed in the culture. Maybe every Bouyon artist or every artist or band that has a permit probably has come here for me already. So pretty much Dominica on a whole, I promote the culture on a daily basis. Um, Also, we do with Dominica Houston Association, we do a lot of voluntary services and we give back to the community in forms of scholarship, and people in Dominica receive from it, and Dominicans in Houston also benefit from it also. So in a nutshell, I'm just like a cultural freak, and both entertainment and like our real culture, the Jinping part and all that.
Yes, so thank you, gentlemen, for being here. And I did try to find a young lady to join the conversation because I like the diversity of
Yeah,
having both,
yeah,
males and females on the
yeah,
panel. But
yeah.
unfortunately, I did not have much luck with that. So maybe next time. So we look forward to your contribution. And again, if you're just joining in, we're looking at the successes and challenges of Dominica's evolving culture in 2026 and beyond. So where I want us to get started this evening is, we hear a lot about Bouyon to the world, and it seems like our Bouyon artists are taking off in a massive way. And guys, I see you on Facebook coming in, so come on in. If you want to be acknowledged for being here, just post a message and let us know where you're joining us from. But guys, this is what we're going to cover in the time that we have this evening. We're going to look at the successes. What are we doing right? What is going well for our culture, for exposing our culture, for monetizing our culture? Because this program is really about economic development, right? Putting money in the pockets of our people. So what are we doing well? Then we're going to look at the challenges. What are the challenges we still need to overcome? And then what is the way forward for our cultural industry? So off the bat, I'm just going to open the discussion so you can jump in. And in any aspect of our culture, I want us to talk about what are we doing well.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to be the opening batsman in that case. So here's the thing. This little island called Dominica, situated between the two French West Indies islands, in the middle of the Caribbean archipelago. It's a strange island in many ways. Underdeveloped for a long time, like most of the countries of the Caribbean. We face really some severe challenges over the decades. So we are in many ways a country of contrast. Natural disasters, underdevelopment and poverty, struggle for independence, and building a new nation from 78 to now. But one thing that's always been constant, one thing that has been, right into the mix of Dominica is its vibrant culture and heritage. Yeah, this island is special in many ways. That with less than 70,000 people, we produce music that has reached the global community. We produce theater, a theater movement that has captivated the rest of the Caribbean and to some extent the world. In fine arts, we produce some luminary artists like Letang, Alwyn Bully, and others, and Tula, and so on. So we've done, we've given to the world a strong and rich cultural legacy in many ways. And that is in spite of, as I said, the challenges of underdevelopment and clearly the underdevelopment of the infrastructure to build a strong cultural industry or any kind of industry around the arts. And that has to do with, some people say, resiliency as a people. Maybe we inherited some of the strong African genes that, we brought that with us. And so you see in almost all aspects of the visual and performing arts, Dominica is very, very strong. And we push way over our wits in many ways. So as I say, music, I think that's where we probably have some competitive advantage. We produce two genres of music, but even before the two genres of music in the 60s, we had a band called the Gillas Power Union. They were magical, they were dynamic, and they ruled the Caribbean, and later on, they ruled Europe. So we push way above our weight. But we can say, though, that has been in spite of the challenges in the country. So I would say music we've done well. Theater we have done well. Fine arts in many ways we've done well. Not in film, we have a burgeoning film industry. We have one or two talented filmmakers now. We have people like Michael Lees, we have Sandra Vivas, and a couple others who are doing some work in the film subsector. In the fashion sector, we have a number of young women, young designers who are coming and holding their own and showing that they have some talents in that regard. Literature, we used to have a number of prominent writers. Of course, we have people like Alwyn and Lennox as authors. We have poets and short story writers of some pedigree that we have seen kind of diminish a bit in the last several years. not so much, of course, Raspo. I mean, I can't forget Raspo, who passed away. It was a fantastic performance poet. So in those areas, I mean, I highlight those areas among the areas that we have seen some successes. So we have created our mark. We have given to the Caribbean, to the world, a rich contribution in the arts and culture. I'll come back and talk about some of the challenges because I say, in spite of all what we're faced with over the last 50 years, 60 years, to produce music and art and a vibrant sea of a people, that can go and speak and chat. We have some great orators and so on, but yet we're able to stand up and show the world who we are. Yeah. So
yes, excellent. Thank you for the broad overview, Sobers. Glenn?
Oh, I didn't say Calypso though, Narrin. I should have said Calypso.
We'll leave Calypso to Narrin.
As a music thing as well, all right?
Yes, cool. Go ahead, Glenn, then we'll come to you, Narrin.
Okay, so the Bouyon has taken a twist, and it really has put Dominica and all Dominican activities to the next level, and that is great. And we're discussing what is working or what is good or what is great about it. And my point of view, the country has embraced it more. Like before, the country didn't embrace the bouillon like they're doing now. So if you look at Carnival that passed, even themes were after bouillon. And if you look at the last World Creole Music Festival, most of our top bouillon artists were on the main stage. So that means it's getting more highlight from the place it was birthed, which was the opposite before. Actually, it got more highlight in other islands, and then we embrace it. So today, I like to see the turn that it took, that the country on a whole embrace it and ready to defend it and ready to do whatever for it. So that's a good thing. That means we are passionate about what we have. We feel great, and we have that thing about us, Dominicans, that is our own. And I could see a lot of people embracing it. And because of that, it makes other people even curious that never know about it, and it even bring more light to the bouillon. Another point I want to touch, people who have probably, I don't want to say give up on life, but who probably wouldn't have a great opportunity in other industry, they find themselves some way to make some kind of income and to contribute to society in one way or the other. That's not negative. And there are a number of people, from promoters to the artists themselves, to the beat makers, videographers, just name it. We get so many people that could be employed by that industry. I'm not saying that we are where we want to be yet, but I'm just saying that so many more people are benefited than 5 years ago or 6 years ago. So that's a good thing for it. It brings a little economic value to some people or to a lot of people that probably wouldn't have that opportunity in other industries. So that is a great thing for the bouillon. Another thing I observe is that, and we are not there yet again, more people are taking it as a business. Because in any field you go, 20% talent, 80% business. If you only have all the talent in the world and you don't know how to make income out of it, it is of no point. You could be the fastest runner of the world and you never go on a track. We don't know that. So I see more people taking it as a business and taking it more serious as my daily job. And when you do that, you tend to put more effort and more into it. So that's great again. And then the events most of it is around the Bouyon genre, and that helps the Bouyon. And the curators of the event and the promoters, I see they put in more work and they pay more attention. And so far, we have so many better events than 5, 6 years ago. So that's some of the highlights I could figure out that's good, that's making it good. And of course, somebody once said Bouyon is the biggest export from Dominica. I don't know how true that is. I like to go by facts. But I'm just saying that it creates a lot of opportunities for Dominicans, both here and abroad. So these are some of the points I think that's good for now.
Yeah, fantastic. Narrin.
All right. So, what more can I add to all what these gentlemen have said? I mean, Sober's rightly said it. Dominica has what I would consider a rich cultural heritage. We still love our Calypso. As for our Calypso, we may be the country where Calypso is still very prominent when we look at the other islands where soca has taken over. Yes, there is challenges from Bouyon, which we welcome, but we still have that deep Calypso presence. And I mean, it's not because I am involved in it. I am saying that it's actually a reality. There is always room for improvement. What we are doing good, we are putting Dominica on the map. And I will learn a point from Glen. What has placed Dominica on the map, especially that last carnival season that just passed there, is Bouyon music. And yes, I'm a Calypso man, but we have to be able to accept certain realities. And the reality right now, what is on people's lips when they speak of Dominica is Bouyon music. And from where I see it, it is probably the right time to not just look at that Bouyon in isolation, but to maybe put a good group or focus set of people together to look at this from a nationalistic standpoint, where we can really, really look to get the real potential of our arts and our creative arts. So Bouyon is having us out there. We can the other arts like the Kadas and whatnot can also piggyback on that attention Dominica is getting. But as I said, it would have to be a nationalistic approach to that, where our creative art is actually considered a sector by itself. So, for example, when you hear of reggae music, you think of Jamaica one time. But when you go to Jamaica, it's not only reggae music you'll be exposed to, but reggae music will bring you into Jamaica. And when you go there, you will participate in the other aspects that are available. Right now, I think Dominica is ripe to position itself to be a place that persons can come for Bouyon and at the same time get the other aspects that we have to offer. Calypso, the theater. I mean, I miss the days of Theatre Powell and the Steve Hyacinth programs. I mean, we have been hearing about the restoration of Arab House of Culture, but even in discussing as recent as tonight, I think where we would probably want to go, just rebuilding Arawak as it was may not even be suitable. We may have to think outside of the box, think bigger than just what we were doing before. So I think there is potential, there is opportunity, the vibes is the raw material is there. What we need now is strategy and organization.
Yeah, and it feels like this is our time, right?
Yeah.
Because when you
Yeah.
hear random people on social media, influencers on social media, talking about how infectious the Bouyon music is, you cannot help but dance when you hear. You don't even know what you're dancing to, but the beat of the music is so infectious that it makes you want to move. So guys, keep the comments coming in. We'll take them a little bit later. But you know, the other thing I'm thinking of as well, guys, is, you know, this Bouyon music is almost like it's opening a gateway, right? So everyone is latching on to the Bouyon. But for me, I see it as another way to introduce other aspects of our cultural industry to the world. So while people are dancing and enjoying the Bouyon, we should also be trying to attach other aspects of our culture to that experience, so that when Shelley goes and he tours the whole world and Trilogy goes and he tours the whole world, what else should they be taking with them to share the culture of Dominica, to sell Dominica? So what are your thoughts on that, Sobers? In addition to the Bouyon music going to the world, what else should they be taking with them to give Dominica exposure and to promote Dominica? I think you're muted. You're muted, Sobers. Let's give him a minute. You're muted. Okay, while we're waiting for Sobers, let's go over to you, Glenn, because you do a lot of, you bring a lot of these guys over to Houston. So what else should they be bringing with them to promote Dominica?
I think most of these guys are doing a great job right now. So, and I noticed that maybe 2-3 years back, when these guys come, they sell Dominica. They don't just sell themselves or sell their craft. They sell Dominica. Asa is a good example. I brought him several times over here. You know, Asa walk with his flag. That's already part of selling Dominica. But what these guys are doing nowadays, and the last time we had Trilogy, Shelley, and Rio up here for a great event. It was one of the best events ever recently. So they will tell people genuinely heartfelt invitation back to our lovely island during their set. And I think that's a good idea. And other things I would like to see our artists do, which could also be beneficial to them, is do some merch. Like when you travel, do some merch. Even I love Dominica, I love Bouyon and stuff like that. A little cup that has something. Because in the bigger shows, like the big rock shows, I was talking to one of the big promoters that does the bigger shows like the rap artists and the rock stars and these big guys that do it. And he was telling me he's more interested in the merchandise than the door or the bar. And I was like, wow. So I did a little research, and merchandise actually makes more money than any other thing out there. So that's a way to sell Dominica, a way to sell themselves, a way to put more money in their pocket. If somebody love you, they're gonna buy what you have, something to remember, something to just hold and say, yeah, that's my artist. So these are the little things they can do to help bring out Dominica on a whole. But they are doing an exceptional job, well, most I should say, of selling the country when they come to perform. They will invite them to Creole Fest, they'll invite them to Carnival, and they will talk about the country during their set. So I feel that's a good way to go. There are other many things they can do also. But what we do up here now, not just the artists, we do the things that we do in Dominica to have other people curious to ask, whoa, I haven't seen that before. I'm curious. What can you find out in Dominica? So even the Dominica Houston Association, we do our independence ceremony, we do our Heritage Day, and we have all kind of things of Dominica. And even when I do my event, I try to get things like BB rum, selling. Kind of really expensive on it because it's hard to get. It's economic. So I'll say, hey, it's hard to get, so you gotta pay for it. And they buy it because it's something of Dominica. So these things can really bring awareness and actually bring income into this artist pocket also. And that's how we do it over here. So we have a rich Dominica culture in Houston, and we promote it. And that's one of the most vibrant group in Houston, in all the Caribbean thing. So when Dominica Houston Association is doing something, the entire city knows they're doing something. So these are the things we do to sell it. We do the food too. we introduce our food to other people. Of course, much people cannot speak the language, but we try to say 1, 2 words that they could understand. And different aspects of the culture, we actually relate to them. But as for the artists, I think merch is a good help, and keep on wearing the flag and keep on spreading the word that Dominica is one of the greatest country in the world. And that is a start.
Oh yeah, that's more than a start. That's actually some great work that they're doing. Sobas, let's see if we can hear you again. Try to unmute. Let's see if we can hear you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
So I have to come on my phone because I don't have my internet connection because we had no power earlier on. So I don't know it.
Okay.
It has to do with the power issue. Okay.
Yes, I'm not sure if you heard the question. You heard the question?
Related to what how we can expand the reach.
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah. So there are two things that are at play here. One is across the creative ecosystem or the creative economy, there are a number of things that we can do, because when we talk about creative industry, we're talking about really utilizing the talent, the culture, the heritage to create opportunities, income generating opportunities, economic development. All right. And for us in the region, the focus has been music, clearly the area where the Caribbean has had its greatest level of competitive advantage globally. 2, we have festivals and festival tourism, second area. 3, we have fashion and design, it's another area. We have film and animation, we have literature, we have and new media among some of the areas for the creative economy. So there are opportunities across those areas for us as a society, as an economy, to focus attention on and to create opportunities for young people. So that's one. So it's not just one thing. There are several things that we can do. And there's also the opportunity for us to integrate across this sector. So music and film, music and fashion, and so on. You talk about cuisine, important parts of the culture. But specific to music, so in terms of revenue generation for the music sector, yeah. So there, apart from playing on the festival circuit or the concert circuit, which is what we know about. So our bands travel overseas to play at festivals and events. They play gigs from time to time, but there are other ways to also generate revenue. So somebody talk about merchandise. Merchandise is a very lucrative part of the business, and I think that we're not really touching the surface when it comes to merchandise. Look at Carnival, for example. I mean, how much merchandise we see around Carnival from our bands and our artists, you know. So that's an opportunity, to me, that's an opportunity missed there in a big way for us to really maximize opportunities from the point of view of the music sector. There's also the issue of endorsements. Mm-hmm. So you see, so bands and artists endorse products or endorse certain industries like telecoms. You see some of the local companies actually have guys endorsing their products and so on. So that's another way. So endorsement. They can do licensing deals for things like movies and documentaries. I know Trobby, for example, Groovers, they have a deal with a movie. There's a short piece. It is usually a short piece, but there is an opportunity again we can have from the music sector standpoint. Also, image rights. You see Bob Marley after 40-something years after his death, you can't use Bob Marley's image just like that. So you have to get special permission. And I think that's one of the areas that our artists need to look at. So some of the big guys in the music business, in the Bouyon business, for example, I mean, they can in fact use their image as a selling point to project themselves, but also to generate income and to bring revenue to the country. So there are a number of things that we can do, that we just need to build on those things so that we can maximize the opportunities and able both the artists and the country to benefit much more from the music, from the arts. That's currently we're not doing enough of. Some is happening. I mean, and Glen is talking about some of the things that he's doing in Houston, but I think we're just touching the surface. So again, there's need for a whole rethink
of how we look at revenue streams around music, around the arts, so we can maximize from the investment that these guys are putting into the music and to the arts.
Yes, very well said. Thank you so much. And Narrin, as I come to you, I also want to ask, because I think that is an area that Calypso has been struggling with as well in terms of income streams, right? So we have to say congratulations to Signal Band, because they have launched their store where they're selling their merchandise. And from what I'm hearing, they're doing very well. I know also Colin XP back in the day when she was doing musical therapy on Sundays, she too had a lot of merchandise. I don't know if she's still doing it. But why has Calypso not gravitated? You know, we have so many good songs, like the song you did for Calypso 2026. Why hasn't Calypso gravitated towards merchandise, towards other income streams? I know you're no longer on the executive, but I think you've had enough experience in Calypso to answer the question.
So, I mean, before I even go on to what Calypso can do to really have itself out there, I wanted to support the continuous mention. I think it's Glenn who was indicating mention. Let people know that what you're seeing on stage is from Dominica, that is coming from. They should also, especially performing at a major festival, they should use the opportunity to fuse or ballet in part of their set for the night. Part of their set should really show people the type of cultural activity that can come from Dominica. So you can come Dominica for the Bouyon, but you also have that part. To answer your specific question, Calypso is a very sensitive, I would say, art form, in that the association has faced several challenges, the biggest being financial constraint. Now, yes, there is need to market, but at the end of the day, if probably there was maybe more support towards the art form, and I have said it already publicly, that the support don't even have to be larger chefs or money. It could just be infrastructural support. Then you could find, we could have additional monies to go into the merchandising and promotions and whatnot. But we have been doing it pretty much with the assistance from our sponsors and the patron. That is where we have been. And when you have limited resources, there's so much you can do. There is also the need to bring in the people who have the capacity or the intellect to really take the art form to that other level. So yes, we may have an executive, and one of the things I've said, where the music industry is right now, sometimes we have to be honest with ourselves. Do you have what it takes in terms of the marketing of the art form, the merchandising? Do you need to bring in a consultant? And I would say, before the last executive was, well, not removed, but step aside and to adhere to the Constitution. We were a month ago, before the dilemma, in serious discussion with a consultant, where we even had a draft agreement in terms of how we can repackage the Calypso product. And that included the Calypsos at the school, merchandising, and ensuring that Calypso can be fused with the Bouyon genre, ensuring that even Bouyon is placed under the umbrella of Calypso, because that is where it came from. So for us to really get the true benefits of Calypso, it would mean lending or opening ourselves up to support.
Yeah. So the new executive did not engage with the consultant the old executive was engaging with?
Well, no, I think they engaged with somebody else. They did not engage with they may have had little passive conversation, but not to the extent where we were, because we actually had draft agreements, which was sent back with our comments and areas of concern for review. So that's where we were. But we did identify, and yes, it may be considered overdue, but we did come to the realization that, hey, if we do not stop and refocus our energies where Calypso is concerned, we may not have it in the next 5 years.
Yeah, and
that is one of the things.
Yeah, and while I have you on the mic, Narrin, we see Bouyon blossoming so much. We keep saying Bouyon to the world, right? And then we kind of see Calypso as stagnant. We're still stuck on the conversation about why do we only hear Calypso at Carnival season? We don't really hear Calypso during the entire year, and that is one of the reasons I wanted to have Daddy Chest on, because as the Calypso King, I wanted to know how was he going to push Calypso to the next level? Because I think most of us would agree that Calypso is kind of stagnant. I love my Calypso. I listen to Calypso all year round, right? But the peak of the Calypso season is really Carnival time. And then
Yes.
from there we see a downhill. I know that effort has gone into trying to have, different events during the summer, towards the end of the year. But in your view, what can we do? As we start looking into the challenges, right? So now we're going into the challenges that we're facing. So in your view, what can we do to keep Calypso alive year round, and also to get it that worldwide exposure that Bouyon music is experiencing? Is it the lyrics are too local, like we said, they're not really international topics that you can take overseas? So what are your views?
Yeah. Well, one of the ways to keep Calypso alive is to ensure that there is continuity. So I believe Calypso should be introduced at the school level. There should be collaborations with the state college to actually have Calypso as on the curricula that is being offered to students, even if it's maybe once a week or whatever the case is. But you continuously have the Calypso being inculcated in the curriculum, and you can have some continuity there with regards to the art form. Dominican, it has been said and proven at times that Dominicans appreciate the competitive component of the Calypso. After that is done, you try to have a show in Paybush, you might sing for concrete, people staying outside, because there is really need to really review the whole Calypso and see how best it can be accepted. The radio does their best. So I know on a Monday, kudos to Honorable Blackmore is one of those who keep the Calypso going steadily. But the other DJs, after the season is past, you wouldn't really hear much from them. So that 10% forget about the Calypso. So I think nationally we should embrace the art form a bit better. We should provide a little more support so that there could be more funds available for training. You talk about the type of Calypso and it's too worthy. There is a shortage of writers in Dominica. When you look at the back in the days, you had Calypsonians who could write and also perform. In this current time, most of the Calypsonians depend on a writer. And who are the writers that are available? We have not seen any new writers coming on stream in any massive manner. So you already have a shortfall there on the creativity. Because how many songs did Patty Run write last year? Maybe one or half. You understand? So, in terms of getting the younger generation interested, they may not be interested in those long, wordy things. You may need to fuse it. You may need to be more creative. But how are you going to get that creativity? It's really go out there, ensuring that you can get training. You can bring people into the island to conduct the seminars and whatnot. That's the way I think forward, because I don't think we should try ever to lose the Calypso. The Calypso should not compete with the Bouyon. They should complement one another because they are father and son. So we should not really be in any fight, any toss up. So that's what I think should happen. Continuous training, awareness, introduction in the school, keep it bubbling, incentives for the young people. That's what I think can happen with Calypso to really keep it alive.
Yeah, and let's open up the floor to Sobers and Glenn as well to chime in.
Yeah, can I comment on that a little bit? I'm not too big on the Calypso. I love my Calypso, but I'm not too, I'm more into the Bouyon life because that's what I bring up there most of the time. But from my point of view, and that's my opinion, pretty much. So if you think the professional Narrin, if you think I go in way off, you could correct me on
No,
that.
no, I'm not a
But
professional.
back in
I'm
the
not a
days,
professional.
but back in the days, I remember going to grammar school and stuff like that. When like most times, that's not always the case, but the first song heavy on lyrics and blah 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 and well slow and nice, the calypso. And your second song is like volley and So what do you find now? The calypso cannot go year round because you cannot dance to it no more. You cannot do the things like when Rabbit used to sing a song, do you want to hear that every day? To me, the calypso, the quality is there, don't get me wrong. But the dancing vibes is there. People dance to bouillon. People don't dance much to calypso. A very few songs you'll probably get that is a dancing song or party song. So probably that's one of the reasons that after the season, people close the door and they just continue with their bouillon. And also it could be what I was saying, the calypso and the bouillon can survive together. They are two different genres. They go in two different ways. We shouldn't look at it as competition. And I think what happened to the Calypso now, and that's my opinion, back in the days, Calypso was untouched. You couldn't do anything during a Calypso show. You will flop. So some brave fellas or groups challenged that, not directly, but they said, let's just do something. And it worked. So the Calypso people, they shocked, like, what happened for the last 4 or 5 years? What happened? But they were not creative enough to do something to keep the momentum going. They were scared and they were shocked and they were caught unprepared and didn't know what to do. So there were no creativity to say, okay, what we were doing, we were lazy about it because nobody could touch us. And think about it. Think about it. If you're alone doing something and you're untouched, you're gonna be creative. You're lazy about it. You just do the same thing every year. They must come. But when they get challenged, they were shocked. So now they have to go back to the drawing book and get very creative and move the genre somehow. It's not a competition to bouillon. Calypso and bouillon can survive. You don't even have to mix them, they can still survive. But we need creativity in the calypso. We need things to make people want to come to the calypso because the bouillon are doing things to make people want to come to the bouillon. Whether gimmicks, whether this, whether that. I mean, when Asa say he have a show, he have a show. He will bring a teddy bear to make you come to the show, to keep your interest. So nothing wrong with the Calypso. Dominica have great Calypso. Dominica probably is maybe one of the top Calypso that's still surviving. But we were caught by surprise. The Calypso Association got lazy because they were untouchable. So the bouillon shocked them.
Yeah, but
And
to add to that point, Glenn, I mean, you have to look at the younger generation. Back in the days, Calypso is what that was there. I mean, there was the WCKs and then emerging and whatnot, but it was predominantly Calypso, and that is what everybody was into. The younger generation have gravitated aggressively towards the bouillon, high-paced, fast-paced music. So there's no way the Calypso can compete with that, even on the road, competing with the high-paced music. But what you said is correct, and that's the point I made. The Calypsos have to go back to being creative. So like the songs, the manner in which Rabbit would make the same song and give a lot of blows. We have to get back to that. But how do we go back to that? We go back to that by having writers available. And how do you have writers available? It's continuous training. How do you have continuous training? It's investment by the state because it's a national product. Calypso has contributed significantly to the country's development at one point. I mean, we were the largest contributor during the carnival season towards the value added tax. We have made our contribution, but what has really come back into the art form to allow sustainability and whatnot? I don't think enough has come back. And sometimes I said, Don't actually give me larger shares. You can just decide, you know what? This is how I'm going to assist the art form. I'm going to invest in some writers from the region that can come in and help our current writers, help our boarding writers to really recraft the way they present the lyrics. And that could probably assist, but there's no way in this time the Calypso will be able to compete with Bouyon. And we saw the impact with the introduction of the Viva la Carnival. And I will make no hesitation to say, once that was introduced, what you found happening is the people who would not necessarily come to Carnival, as Shadow Flow would say, they come for the rum and the party. They may be sometimes coming in when the second rung is about to start. These people, we saw them gravitating, because it's high-paced music that they're coming for. We saw them gravitating towards the Viva la Carnival and whatnot. So there is need, as I said, for repackaging, not just Calypso, but Dominica's creative art, which would include the Calypso and create better opportunities for all players in the industry.
Yeah, and I want to come to you, Sobas, but let me chime in as well, because I think we got very excited when we saw Trilogy jump into Calypso. I got excited because I was like, great, because we always associate Calypso with the more senior population. I don't know if it's the same in the other islands, but in Dominica, we associated with the more senior, and Sobas is shaking his head, so we're coming to him. But when Trilogy came in, I was really excited because I felt like it would bring a younger population to Calypso. But sadly, Trilogy came, he got his crown, and he bounced right back out. You know, so Sobas, your thoughts?
Yeah, so here's the thing. We have a dilemma, not just in Dominica, with the Calypso art form. I mean, that's the reality. The music has evolved over the last decade, 2 decades, right across the board. So you see in Trinidad, for example, Calypso is no longer, as Glen has so eloquently said, no longer the dominant force it used to be, all right? And that's for a number of reasons. So the young people prefer the faster pace, more type genre that they can gyrate to and move to. They don't get that from the Calypso. So that is one of the things. But secondly, and I think Glen is right, Glen is on point, that and I think Narrin is saying the same thing, that the Calypso Association didn't really pay attention to what was coming. They didn't foresee what was coming, and they didn't pay attention to that, you know. So investing in training, all right, repackaging, as Narrin keep talking about it, getting into the communities and to the schools. These are things that should have been done 15, 20 years ago, but it was never done, you know. And so this thing is coming to bite us today in terms of the Calypso art form, because we are seeing it, we are seeing a decline, both in terms of the interest, but also in terms of the development of the art form. Narrin is very correct to say that we have had very few new writers coming on the scene over the last, 10, 20 years. And that is a serious indictment, both for the Calypso Association as well as for Dominica, because we should have done more. It's almost like what we see in cricket, it's a mirror image. Calypso and cricket in the Caribbean is almost the same thing. When Calypso was big in the Caribbean, we were boss, and we didn't want nobody to touch it. I remember a president of the Calypso Association once told us he don't want nobody to come and tell them how to write to Calypso, and which was very arrogant and silly. My good friend, but I won't call his name. But same in cricket. We didn't want nobody to come and coach West Indian cricketers because we were the best. We used to beat everybody. We beat Australia, we beat England, and so on. So we didn't invest in training and coaching and so on. And today, we are the whipping boys in global cricket. So here's the thing. Both in terms of music and across the creative industry, there is need for us to rethink how we do things. It is not enough to be beating our chest and to say, this one is great, this one is mighty. There are always challenges, there are always flaws. We have to constantly be reviewing, constantly updating, constantly expanding and rebuilding where we are, so that when we are facing those challenges, we know exactly how to deal with them. And today, we talk about Bouyon. And Bouyon will face the same challenges down the road if they don't pay attention to the same issues that Calypso and other art forms are facing currently. So I am saying that, hey, there are two things. One, at the national level, maybe Simone will come into some of the challenges. At the national level, it is imperative that as a country we recognize the value of the creative industries of art and culture as important elements of both society and economy. And therefore, if it is going to be seen as something that's valuable, something that's tangible to our development, then we have to focus attention on it. What are the things that we have to do? We have to invest more. We have to invest more. We have to support it more, do more. So that's at the national level. At the micro level, at the industry level, there is need for those of us who are involved and engaged to do the work that is required to do at the industry level. So the music industry must look at it, the business of music. The industry associations must be functioning. We shouldn't have an amp that is only dominated by one or two people. It shouldn't be Shelly and Michael and a couple of people to run an amp. We need to see more music professionals involved in AMP. And similarly, Narrin made the point, Calypso Association shouldn't be the preserver of a few people. So Calypsonians, thinkers, academic, writers, so researchers should be brought on board so that we can look at how we can build the Calypso for the next 10, 20 years. Because the reality is, it is trouble. It is deeply in trouble now. And we have to do some things. Narrin is a Calypsonian, practicing Calypsonian. He has some of the answers already. So he doesn't need people like me to tell him what to do. You know, I think
we need people like you, Sobers. We need people like you.
People like Narrin, but people like Narrin must be listened to. They must be supported. You know, and that is part of the problem that we are faced with in Dominica, folks. It's hard to say that, but it's true. We have to work together collaboratively. It's not one group, it's not one sector, but everybody together. So the state must listen, the state must value the importance and invest. The industry itself must recognize that we have to get involved. You call meetings and workshops for musicians, they don't show up. They don't show up most times. We have a gaping hole, folks, in terms of copyright in Dominica. Every other month you hear something about a lawsuit or something. And you know why? Because there's a lack of awareness, even after about 30 years of education, because people do not educate themselves on some of those issues. We talk about revenue stream. It's only a few people that understand what to do. So you hear the Shelleys, Signal Band, and maybe Triple K and Michael and a few people. But we need more of our professionals in the arts, in the cultural business, to understand that as an industry, we have to lift it up ourselves. We can ask for support, you know. But first and foremost, the practitioners must be engaged. The practitioners must be involved to move it further, to move the needle. So Glen is doing his stuff in Houston. But it's going to take much more than that, folks, if you want to build a truly professional, sustainable music industry for Dominica.
Yeah, definitely. So we have to go over to the studio quickly to invite the callers to come in. Then we're going to take the Facebook comments, but we have so much more to discuss when we come back. But if you joined us late, this is Roots Connections on Q, and we're looking at the successes and challenges of Dominica's evolving cultural industry. So far we talked about, what we are doing right, the successes, and we started talking about the challenges, and we're going to come back and talk just a little bit more about that. And this evening we are joined by Mr. Sobers Esprit, Mr. Glen Bannis, as well as Mr. Narrin Trendsetter Murphy. So Lambi, let's go over to you to invite the callers to the program. Lambi? Oh, we can't hear you, Lambi. You're muted. Okay, so while we're waiting, let's see who we have on the Facebook Live. Brian says, greetings from Antigua. Hi, Brian. Thanks for joining us. Chris Bugun is here. Much love, folks. Dr. Simone, Narrin, and Brother Glenn, as well as Sobers, right? Let's see. Alvin Thomas, great to have you on board. Good evening, Simone and guests. Looking forward to an interesting conversation this evening. Good to see my good friend from SMA alumni, Sobers. Chris says, the honest truth is anything politicians get their hands on, anything cultural, just know it's time for the postmortem. Back in the day, village councils had more power to keep the cultural traditions going. More was available by way of local government, but these days it's power rep in control. Chris also talks about the Arak House of Culture and Old Mill are in ruins for years upon years. We have no major venue for development of culture. I'm talking about early childhood cultural education, etc. William James, nice to see you. Lots of potential. Alvin says, Simone, it's also worth noting in what Sobers has said as it relates to Dominicans, ingenuity in the creative arts, music, and culture. All of that was, for the most part, is achieved in the absence of any formal training in those areas. It's what one may describe as homegrown talent. Then he continues, meaning that, like in developed countries, most of the persons had little exposure to music schools or theaters in the beginning of their crafts. Then we have William James, attach other aspects of musical creativity to Bouyon is what we should be doing. Bouyon haven't reached its fullest potential. It's ongoing. Chester Wilkins, nice to see you. Greg Baptist, always nice to have you on board. Thank you for being here. Greg. Chris says beautiful plants and flowers are also part of our culture that folks have forgotten about. The Girardel and Eggleston, that's being recognized for what they're bringing to the table. Let's see, Alvin, while I hear Narrin's concern, I think that given there has been a registered Calypso Association in place for a long time, the association needed to undertake an in-depth analysis of the situation and come up with a strategic plan. So guys, take a note of anything you want to comment on based on the comments. Chris says culture is not just about Calypso, Calypso or Bouyon music, but I suspect this program might need a part 2, 3, and 4 if talking culture. Things that Rabbit Fest, the annual Catholic feast in different villages are also part of culture. How do we maintain these old traditions before they bury? Very good points. Chris, thank you for that. Jay Joseph, nice to see you. Let's see, Alvin, not quite true. Simone, Calypso in the past had young individuals, NC Rabbit, The Breaks, Trinidad, King Dice, to name a few, were all young. No, we're talking about now, Alvin, we're talking about the audience, not the performance. And let's see, Chris, Earl Etienne left us with some great memories of art as part of culture. Arnold Toulon has been a cultural art ambassador, but we've lost focus and involved in more important aspects of what sells, aka nasty business, rather than sticking to traditional culture. In my opinion, Bouyon was only birthed less than 40 years ago. What about culture before that? And then Alvin says, very true, Sobers, everything can either evolve or stagnate if not constantly looked at. So any thoughts on the comments? Can we go back to Lambi? Lambi, can we hear you now? Let's see.
The numbers are 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257. Those are all local numbers. The international overseas number is 305-432-9624. We already have someone on the line. So caller, please go ahead with your call.
Hey, Mr. Lambert. Good night, sir.
Good night, sir.
And good night to Miss Simon and Narrin and Mr. Sobers. And
Good evening.
Good night, sir.
Yes, my panelists. I want to follow up on what Mr. Sobers is saying. I'm not a musician, but I'm a part of the culture. Promoting Dominica products is part of our culture, our food, our way of life, our music. These are the brands. That's what all the big world sell. If you look at America, music is one of the biggest industries. Just look at Michael Jackson and many others. The food, the big farm is part of the culture. But I want to go with what Sobers is saying. I've been in a small industry manufacturing. And even in the city of Roseau, I try to get the people on the sidewalk that's selling to form an association, as Sobers was saying there. We pick up around 40-something names to form that association, including all these ladies, these grown ladies you see across by Mr. Jolly's pharmacist, like you're going out of town, next to Macmillan. We had a lawyer, and all the lawyer was telling us to do is to get a social security photocopy and our address we'll be selling in Roseau and our address in which village we come from. And up to now, if you want to move forward, you must have a group. You must have a base, as Sober saying. If the vendors in Roseau want to be respected, when you go to the Minister of Trade, you don't go with one voice. You go with 40, 50, 60. You must overpower him, as Sober was saying, with the music industry. If the musicians don't come together, there is no way the government is going to care, because the government is not a musician. The government enjoying the work of the music because they can make a large amount of people. They make the money in airfare and all of them, but the government not going to put no interest in it. The government is a politician. So I totally agree with Mr. Sobers. And if you hear my voice always calling and talking, it's about the local industry, our products that have to make millions, and instead of exporting millions of dollars. For instance, look at Jamaica music industry, as Sobers was just saying. All these top musicians in Jamaica, they have a legacy, they leave a legacy. Just before Jimmy Cliff died, I think he buy a training school, something like $4 or $5 million. He leave equipment, he leave teaching class, he leaves studio. He don't leave it for his wife, he don't leave it for his children, he leave it for the youth in Jamaica. And that is what Sober's saying. For instance, look at Maho, they just had a great man gone, a great icon. Nobody could sing like him, nobody could perform like him. And I believe it's the people of Maho now, the community of Maho, that have to put up a building in Maho, right next side Almond train going down to DCP there. Put up a big building there. It can be the people from Maho who live out of state to do that project, just as what they do in Jamaica and other places. The people, the politicians, they're not going to do nothing. And I totally agree with Sobers on everything he say. I work along Sobers. Sobers always give me a little help along the way, ideas, motivation. And he's a man they should have as a advisor to all the people concerning the politicians. Have a good night.
Yes, thank you for your call. Thank you, caller, for joining us and for adding some value to the conversation. So anything based on the comments on the Facebook Live that anyone wants to chime in and comment on?
Well, I just wanted to say, I mean, Ronnie, I recognize the voice as Ronnie. Ronnie made the point. So, you know, we recognize globally that the creative industry is what they call an emerging sector, and it's even more so in the Caribbean. And so the onus is on us, practitioners, professionals, to move it forward, all right? So you see in Jamaica, for example, there's a Reggae Industry Association. It's a powerful body. It's a powerful lobby body. It's a powerful body to organize events. They have a reggae month, and they do reggae music month. It's not Bouyon one side and Calypso and thing. They do reggae music month. It's all Jamaican music. And I think things like that we have to reconceptualize and to reconstruct as a society and as an industry. You see what happened in Hollywood, you know, the Writers Guild, the Actors Guild, and all those things. Even the way these are multi-millionaires, you know, and they recognize that they have to work in tandem. They have to work together. So I think it's something that we have to bring on board, the need for collaboration, for greater partnership in building the industry, building and strengthening the ecosystem to move the creative economy forward. And as I say, it's not just music, it's across the board. Because how are we going to press on, for example, investment in education? So it's what kind of education? Who should benefit? Where should they get that kind of education, the quality of education? So education is going to be a key part. And we have to be in there, involved in that. shouldn't leave it to the Ministry of Education only. We should leave it to as she's saying, to the policymakers only. We should be at the table talking about education in the arts and culture. And you talk about in the communities. We need to do much more in the communities. And some of it's going to have to be government-led, but some of it has to be community-led as well. The community, when somebody say about the village council and so. But again, the society has changed a great deal, folks. We are not in 1950s and 1960s. We are in 2026. And so people mindset, people frame of mind is different. So we have to find ways to mobilize and to organize people around this new venture, this new industry, this new enterprise called the creative industry. Otherwise, if we leave it to other people, it won't happen. We will see things falling down one by one. So Calypso will fall down today, Bouyon might fall down the next day, fashion and film and so on. But if we recognize the value of working together in solidarity, partnership, in collaboration, that is when we're going to be more successful. And we can push the needle and say to the government, say to the private sector, these are the things that we want, these are the things that we need to move the sector forward. And we can talk about some of those things a little later. What are the things that we're going to need? And it's not just to throw hyperbole. It's to say concretely, these are the things that we need to build a strong cultural industry.
Yes, very well said. And let me come to you, Narrin and Glen. But one of the salient points we made before we went to the break is the need for writers, right? And that is such an important point because like we saw for 2026, when you take DICE out of the competition, we had a great competition. I'm not saying it was less of a competition, but I did miss DICE, right? I did miss the DICE element in the competition. So how do we incentivize those who already have the skill as writers to train other writers to become part of Calypso? So I think that is important because, for example, we see yet again, and again, we're not comparing Bouyon to Calypso necessarily, but we have to use it as an example.
But Simone, in both Calypso and Bouyon and all the musical genres, we have to up the tempo. We have to up the standard.
Yes,
we have to have better writing.
Right.
Every aspect of the music.
Right, because what I was thinking is, I know Shelley and Trilogy at one point were doing this put pen to paper summer camp, which I thought was brilliant. But was it endorsed by the government? Was it an investment made into the culture, or were they just simply doing it out of the kindness of their hearts? And not everybody's going to be willing to do things out of the kindness of their hearts. So how can we incentivize more people to get into writing calypsos, writing better quality Bouyon, so we can get away from this nasty business? Because I have no interest in nasty business on any level. So what is the answer, Narrin and Glen? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think you don't take it then.
Yes. So
go ahead.
The truth is that Dominica is very small, have a small population, and that's a big challenge for us, first of all. If you put a business together, you don't have enough people to come to it, it's going to fail in a matter of days. The only thing that sells is rum, and even rum shops just fall apart. And back in the days, a rum shop or bakery, these are two things that cannot die out. But it die out now because our population is small. We have to agree to that. It has nothing to do with government. It has nothing to do with that. Our population is way too small, and we cannot have a good business there. One or two, we cannot even have 2 or 3 competing in the same industry. So that's a big challenge for us there already. Now you were talking about how to incentivize for the writers. Well, Trilogy and Shelley doing what they do, I think they do it out of maybe passion and stuff like that. But one of the things they can do is do it for a fee, like any other industry. But the thing about it is that you have to be passionate. If you have to pay for something, you have to really want it. You have to be passionate. Do we have passionate writers? Do we have people that are passionate about Calypso that they'll pay a fee to learn to learn it? What is the Calypso Association is doing to make Calypso look attractive? You have to think of it like that. because it is not attractive to me. If I think I cannot make money out of it, why am I going to pay a fee to learn to write? Write what? Is either I'm very passionate about it or I could get something out of it, one or the other. So I'm not going to try to be a writer if I'm not passionate about it. It's a waste of my time. I am not going to try to be a writer if I cannot benefit some way, somehow out of it. So if I see Calypso is attractive and is going somewhere, I think that will push more people. See, like Bouyon, people want to go into the Bouyon. It look attractive. Guys going out there making euro. Guys going out there making US. It look attractive to me. Guys looking good. They have nice clothes. They dress up now. I used to be in runs. Now I wear good clothes. So even it's a small thing, but to the eyes of the young people growing up, wow, more people say, I want to be a Bouyon artist than a Calypsonian because I see a better way for the Bouyon. Now, if they make the Calypso attractive somehow, I don't have all the answers how to make it attractive, but you have to make it interesting that people want to do it, whether they're young or old. And it's not just young people that are giving up on Calypso. Old people is giving up on Calypso too. So the problem is the Calypso or whoever are the authority, they need creativity. They need to bring in people, as Narrin said, if you have to bring in people from overseas to revamp it, if you cannot do it yourself, let it be. If you have to pay people to revamp it, let it be. If you have to get people you don't even like to do it, but get the people with skills, get the people with marketing skills that can get people to see Calypso as something trending and something that looking good. If it's not looking good, they are not going to be interested in it. We could talk day and night, we can go on and on and on. If it's not looking good, the young people are not interested in it. It has to be something, and things have changed. What used to look good 20 years ago is trash today. So we have to move with time. What can we put back into the Calypso to make it attractive, to make people want to go? The people who love Calypso used to bring people before used to be in the Calypso. They either dead or on a walking stick or something like that. They cannot do it no more. What are we doing to show interest to the young people? The problem is the Calypso authority itself, the biggest problem, not just one problem. They are not making the Calypso attractive. And I tell you that because sometimes I didn't like Calypso. I was like, oh, I used to like Calypso and I don't like it anymore. I'm serious. It is not that attractive. And there are good Calypsonians out there. There are good writers. We need more, as Narrin said. And we need people to put the quality to work. Now, as for the Bouyon on the Calypso, too many times we try to make Bouyon Calypso. Bouyon is not Calypso. Bouyon can have some serious lyrics and they could have not serious lyrics because there is market for both. So, yes, the nasty business, you don't like the words, you don't like the I don't have a problem with nasty business because I grew up listening to rap and then dancehall came with that era before the bouillon. So I knew the music changed for young people. Well, doing it in public, yeah, it sounds good. The thing about the nasty business, it become a shocker because we are conservative in Dominica. It's like you never heard that before. You're like, whoa, whoa, what's going on? There will be serious bouillon writers and there will be people who do it for kicks and both of them will sell. So it's not a matter of this, a matter of that. So like soca, not every soca song that's serious. So it's a party thing. It's a an interested line and then a bad rhythm. And it's a party thing. So we try to compare bouillon with Calypso too much. Calypso is a serious lyrical thing. Bouillon, or I would like to see great lyrics, and that's fine. And there are some bouillon, you do not need the great lyrics. You just need something, a party theme, and that's it.
I just need the
So we
beats.
have to understand that there's a market for it. There's a market for it, and it's going to sell, whether you like it or not.
Right.
It's going to sell. And if we don't do it in Dominica, somebody has to take it and do it. You know? But I'm just saying that I understand that where it is being played and how it is being played. Yes, I'm against that. Kids should not be involved in nasty business. That should be an adult show.
Right. Right.
On the streets in Carnival, I would like to see them tame down the lyrics. For example, instead of using the P word, say body or say sweetie, or
Right.
something like that. I would like to see these things happen. But as for the nasty business, it's not going nowhere. Somebody will take it and run with it. It's an adult thing, and everybody not gonna like it. And we cannot make Bouyon too serious because it's a party thing. And there will be serious part of it. Like someone else, that's a great song. It can go places. And there are songs that will not go certain places. It's just not gonna go. But it has a market for it. So on the Calypso end, I would like to see make Calypso more interesting. Yeah, just get things, get the young people opinions. Because the older people are going. It's the younger people we need to keep it up. So get younger people ideas, get bloggers, to blog about Calypso, make Calypso interested again. Like get people out there to just send Calypso because it's the time of the internet now. And if it's only Bouyon we hear, it's only Bouyon we know. Am I hearing Calypso when I on TikTok and stuff like that?
Nope.
Well,
Yeah, and we have to commend Narrin because he has been doing a good job with social media and promoting Calypso. But just on a point of clarity, so we're not comparing Bouyon and Calypso. What we're saying is, what are the lessons? Because Bouyon is taking off, right? So what are the lessons we can extrapolate from Bouyon, apply to Calypso, because we do not want to see Calypso die in Dominica. And at the rate it's going, it looks like it's taking a downward trajectory. So it's not saying comparing the two, but just what are the lessons we can take from how Bouyon is exploding. We talk about merchandise, we talk about social media, because we see folks like Trilogy and we see folks like Shelly always on the internet. But then when it comes to Calypso, I have to say, the only person I really see promoting Calypso on the internet is Narrin. Right. And then, Chris chimes in and he makes a very good point, because he says Calypso have new people on board like Marlon Jourdel. Narrin, I think you know him well. I think they only need support at this time. And Marlon is here on the live. He said, this is what you call something else. So we want to commend Marlon Jourdel because he has stepped in as a Calypso writer as well. So Narrin, over to you for your comments and also the role of social media, because we have to talk about the challenges. So we are seeing a lot of more of Bouyon being pushed on social media than we're seeing Calypso. So just your thoughts in general at this point, Narrin. You're muted.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was saying the taste, it goes back to the taste of the young people. It's different. The young people gravitate towards their Bouyon. There is need for the writing of Calypso to be a bit more appealing and to make more sense to the audience right now. Persons are no longer interested in this long winding Calypso. Hence the reason to continue to be creative with it. How you can be creative is continue training. Now, who are the people doing the training? Sometimes you have the same writers who have been writing for so many years doing the same training. They may not be able to bring in something new. Hence the reason why I call for support, state support. The Calypso Association on its own can only do so much. So we encourage the introductions of the new writers like Mr. Marlon Jourdel and others who may come on stream next year. But that is one of the areas that has been very, very challenging. We long past the rabbit days and the man himself and people who were doing it for themselves. We are just stuck with, if it's not Ian Jackson, Pelham John Baptist at time. As I said, Pat is not really writing much. So that is where we have a real issue. So for one, the young generation is already not so much into Calypso. Yes, we see some of them come to the show, but when you scan the atmosphere, it's really people in their 30s and up that are really attending the shows, and the younger generation, they just feel like, Calypso, I'm not into that and whatnot. So I still want us to get them into that. Maybe making the song simpler, maybe not having the song so long, having a nice dance element to the song. You speak of social media. I am one of those who advocated for greater use of social media for years. I would beg literally, guys, we need to use social media better. I must say, this year, I saw more contribution on social media than before. Kudos to the executive. They really tried. They were keeping the social media. They may not have people maybe talking on a car like me or whatever it is, but I saw a lot more posts and updates and whatnot. And of course, I would hope that whatever they learn this year from this year's experience, next year they can tighten and strengthen and even come better.
Yeah, so we did spend a quite a bit of time on Calypso because again, there is a need to boost the Calypso in terms of our music in Dominica because we know that it's suffering. So I'm really happy we got an opportunity to really dissect and kind of give some ideas of how we can go about doing so. But we do have other challenges, and I want to make sure that we cover them. And one, of course, talking about exporting Dominica's music to the outside world is the visa ban. So we have to look at the reality of the situation for many of our performers, many of our artists. And Glenn, I want to come to you with this particular challenge. So has it been a challenge for those that you're looking to bring to the US? Has it been a challenge in terms of the visa ban? And what are some of the challenges that you're experiencing in terms of bringing our artists so that they can get that US dollar?
Even before the visa ban, um, Dominicans were slow at getting the right paperwork or right permit to perform here. So we have very limited access to artists, maybe 3 or 4 artists for the most, and you have to rotate the same artists over and over and over and over. Now, a wave before the visa ban, a wave came where a whole bunch of artists got, and that was great because at one point we brought up like you could say I was the first to do this, first to do this, first to do that. Nice, this one, this one, this one. So I brought like 6, 7 new artists, and that was really great. And then comes that. But not just Dominica alone, it's challenging because I just heard St. Lucia's losing Grenada also. So so one of the things, the biggest challenge for me right now as we speak is to get the artists that you want or the artist that is really on fire. Some of them, we have no access to them, or they can't come, they cannot travel up here. And this Bouyon is something that is growing up here. I mean, people gravitating towards it now. And seeing your favorite artist is one of the good things. Not everybody that can go home for Carnival or go Dominica for Carnival or Creole Festival, but if you get the opportunity to bring them, that would be great. So yeah, so getting the right paperwork is one of the biggest challenge I could say right now as we speak. And so now we have very limited, so the same artists come 3, 4 times a year or something like that. There are other challenges we could look at too. And as Bouillon is growing, I really think we do not have enough artists. We need more. The more, the merrier. We need a bigger what would say that? We need
Pool.
more artists so we can pick from
Larger
them.
pool.
I think more people need to go into the arts and not just artists, but PR people, promoters, managers. We need more of that so we can actually see where it's going on a bigger level. I think we are very limited in artists and bands. How many bands? We have maybe 4 or 5 bands now. We could have more bands than that. People might say Dominica small, we have a whole lot, but if you look at Jamaica, I mean, Jamaica have thousands and thousands of artists and different types of artists in the same genre. So I think more people can look and go into it because it's a Bouillon not going nowhere. Bouillon is just going up. It will be good to encourage younger people to get into it, whether it's a cameraman, whether it's a photographer, whether there is a promoter, whether there is a beat maker, like that. To me, the more the merrier for me.
Yeah, good. So let me come to you, Sobas, because, even beyond music, the challenges that we're facing, and one of those that you always stress on, which is so important, is the infrastructure that we lack in Dominica, which is a major challenge, which is one of the reasons I'm happy to see. I think the realm is trying to do something where they provide the space for budding artists to be able to come and on different nights perform. So what are your thoughts on the infrastructure? And by the way, Kathy, you are late to the discussion because I did mention in the beginning that we did try to get a female a lady on the panel, and we did not have much success. So yes, we did try to have a female participant, but thanks for being here, Kathy. Yes, go ahead, Sobas.
Yeah. So Glenn started talking about it. So in order for us to build an industry, you have to have, as I said, you have a strong ecosystem. The ecosystem around that must be stronger and stronger. Yeah. So and it means that we have to invest more in a number of areas. And we talked about training early on. And when we talk about training, we're not talking about training just for one group or limited to just the performing arts or the artists themselves, but to develop capacity around a number of professional areas, a number of career areas. So obviously, musicians, artists, designers, so the people who create, the creators, they have to invest in the education, as well as we need to find ways to provide education and training for them. That's one. Secondly, we need to have professionals to support the industry. So more and more promoters. We need managers. You've seen that. There is a paucity of managers in Dominica around the arts and culture in Dominica. So promoters, managers. We have to have things like entertainment law, for example. If you have an issue now with copyright or trademark issues, it's sometimes can be difficult. You have to run around to find a proper lawyer to represent you. So we need entertainment lawyers. Whether they can be based in Dominica or in the region, because now we are a small region, and so it's as I say, the global village. But we need those skills to really help to build a stronger ecosystem. Part of what we need is the infrastructure. Why? That is an age-old problem. Spaces. So yes, you talk about the realm. Where else we have in Dominica? Just a few spaces and places that we have for entertainment, and of course we have a few where we have the National Stadium. We have a few village grounds and so on, but our spaces are very limited. We were just lamenting a couple of days ago that in the 50s and 60s there were more nightclubs and spaces in Dominica than today.
Wow.
That's okay. I was talking about all of the clubs they used to have back in the old days, and you could have dances and fetes, Wednesday nights and Friday nights and Saturday nights and Sunday nights. Can't do that anymore because you only have a limited amount of spaces. So spaces for performances, spaces for entertainment, but also spaces for incubation programs. We need to see if we're going to train our designers, if we're going to train our carnival masquerade makers, we have to give them the opportunity to work in a space, to create, to innovate, and to produce works. So incubation space and incubation programs. So not just a space, but the facilities to go with that, equipment, and of course trainers and facilitators to go with that, going to be critical in moving forward. But I'll tell you, one of the big things that we lack in here is our designers. We really do not have trained people in the fashion and design world. So Carnival, we don't see the kind of innovation that we need to, or we used to have 50 years ago, because we did not have this kind of innovators. And in the 21st century, you have to invest in education and training. Because I can tell you, I work with fashion designers across the region, and almost all of them, they had training in the United States, in France, in Canada, in Jamaica, in Brazil, and those places. Very few of our designers have had formal training. So that's something that we have to correct, you know. So along with writing skills that Narrin has been lamenting on for Calypso, but not just Calypso. So we need to see the skill development in those areas to allow us to have people who are better prepared to challenge the world. Because folks, we should be doing creating products, cultural products, just for our people or people from the Caribbean. We should be challenging the world. We should be doing music. We should be doing film. We should be doing fashion work, whether it be accessory or garments. We should be doing it for the world market. And so for us to be able to compete at that level, we have to have the best prepared people to do that. So that's going to require a lot more investment in infrastructure, in finance, and so on. But I think the other issue is Glen is raising something that has been with us for a long time. So in terms of market access, so that it's taking our products and in this case our services, our music services outside of Dominica, because that's where the money is. Because our market is limited, 60,000 people, so we cannot really build no strong or create no economic scale at that level in Dominica. So we have to take people outside. So one of the things we have to look at is how do we facilitate our artists and our cultural workers going outside with their works. So whether it's visa support, whether it's business to business meetings, going to trade events and those kinds of things. And that's where the Ministry of Trade now has to come in. That is where DEXI has to come in. So there has to be an understanding now for us to see those entities work in that space to support our artists. So we shouldn't be Glen alone doing that. We should be working with the Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Foreign Affairs to facilitate this kind of movements so that more of our artists, more of our producers can go to the United States, can go to Europe, can go to Latin America, can go to the rest of the Caribbean and be able to sell their stuff, to distribute their works and so on. So that is another big area that we need to look at, so market access issues. And of course, we need to look at incentives for the investors in the creative economy. Because there are a lot of investors. Glen is an investor. Mm-hmm. Yeah? And if he's going to invest money, particularly his capital and time, he's going to need some support. So what kind of incentive can we craft for investors, both local and outside investors in the creative economy? Just like how we do in tourism, just like how we do in manufacturing. We need to look at a regime of incentive to support people who want to invest their time, their money, their capital in the creative economy so that we can benefit much more. So these are some of the issues that we have to look at going forward. I just put some of them, but there are several other issues that we have to look at in a more granular way so that we can make a difference going forward.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Thank you so much. Narrin, let me come to you. And one of the things I think we ought to explore is AI. So do we see AI as a challenge, artificial intelligence? Because I have been inundated with music from a lot of people who are now doing AI. You know, they haven't quite gotten the Calypso because AI hasn't figured out how to write modern Calypsos. It can write the old Calypsos, but not the modern Calypso. But AI is writing Bouyon music. So is AI a threat? Is it an opportunity? What are your thoughts? And this is open to the entire panel. What are your thoughts on AI?
Well, definitely AI is the way the world is moving right now, whether for your functions on your desk or even the creation of music. I have received music from people, and when they told me it was AI, I had to listen properly to really get some difference. So it is really something that is out there. We can embrace it, not rely on it totally, because I mean, the world is supposed to get easier and easier, but it's definitely something that can pose a challenge, and it will only get more difficult in terms of trying to compete with it in the long run. Because I've heard some good reggae music. I think right now they have mastered the reggae. The Calypso, as you said, they still have the old Kitchener style or the old Sparrow style of before. Modernized dice and Nashville style, they haven't grasped that as yet. But it is not far-fetched because before that was not existing. That was not existing at all. So it is something that we cannot run away from, but we can use to develop us further, I would say.
Yeah, and the good thing about it, we can criticize AI as much as we want to, right? But when we see how efficient it is, because if, for example, when Hurricane Melissa struck Jamaica, instantly we had music out on the impact of Melissa within a day or two, right? So there are pros and cons. So we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? We can't just completely want to dismiss it, but we have to see it as a challenge. So was Glen, opportunity, challenge, your views on AI in the cultural industry.
Yeah, well, I mean, technology.
AI is real. AI is really scary, but it's a great tool, and if you use it wisely, you can profit out of it. I'm just scared that it just kill creativity, the human creativity, some way, somehow. But I think the music industry will regulate a whole lot around it. So, but for the music that are not like into the copyright stuff and whatever, probably they'll do a lot of more AI, I realize. But when it comes to that, I think the music industry, the Grammy Awards and them, they're going to regulate it a lot. I realize it's gonna happen. But AI makes things easier, and we all want things easier, right? And to tell you the truth, some of the tracks are really nice, I love them. But it takes away that
the creativity.
That human feel, and that's what I'm scared of. It reminds me of when cloning was a thing. Do you know when cloning just came? We all were scared then. Am I going to see a double me walking down the road, We all were scared at that time, but then it got regulated and then nobody talks about cloning no more. So hopefully AI will do the good things it's supposed to do, and it will regulate it. It will be regulated the way it's supposed to be,
Yes. So any thoughts?
Yeah, so I would say that generally the use of technology is a critical element, critical aspect in the development of the creative sector, and we see it right across. Film has to use it; it is a reality. Fashion has to utilize, some aspect of it, and of course, in the music sector, it's already there. So, like most of the in the advancement of technology over the last 25, 30 years. When it started, there was a fear generally around the world, and we as Clayton said, I think we have been able to regulate it. We have been able to regulate things and adapt more and more to that. So one of the things we have to do is we cannot throw hands up in the air. Simone, we have to now, as a country, as a region, find ways in which to utilize it to our own advantage. Yep. So, for example, on Sunday night, I had a long conversation with the head of CARICOM Culture Desk. And one of the things that we discussed is how we're going to get, we're going to do some work around AI and the creative industry in the Caribbean. So CARICOM is already thinking about introducing programs, training, awareness opportunities for persons in the creative economy to be able to utilize more and more some of those the most modern technology, including AI as well.
Yeah, fantastic. So guys, I really want to thank you for your contribution to this wonderful conversation. I've certainly enjoyed every aspect of the conversation. And I want us to talk about our final thoughts in a little bit and the way forward. If we had to create a strategic plan for this cultural industry, we know we have a national policy. Soba sent it to me a few years ago, but we know it's not quite being implemented. But what would a strategic plan look like for our creative industry? And in particular, how do we safeguard our legacy? For example, we're seeing a lot of collaborations with Bouyon artists and soca artists from Trinidad. And how do we protect that? We always know that Bouyon is a product of Dominica. It is not soca. So making sure that is in the case. And while I'm at it, let me just make it fundamentally clear, because I have to make this point, that, you know, we are very passionate about our culture. We're very passionate about Dominica, but let us always remember to be respectful, right? Because I did make a post where one of the artists from Trinidad claimed to be the princess of Bouyon. And my concern was, well, you're not a Bouyon artist. So how are you going to be the princess of Bouyon? That's like me going to the UK and somebody says, well, you're a princess from the royal family. And then I go and tell the rest of the world that I'm a prince of the... Yes, somebody may have said it to you, but do you broadcast it knowing full well that you're not a Bouyon artist? So that is my concern. How are we preserving that legacy? And let me just make it fundamentally clear that respect is very important, because unfortunately, you know, two, not one, but two men who are supposed to be representing Dominica at the highest level of culture found it fit to jump into my WhatsApp and send me messages that could simply be seen as nasty messages. And I was completely perplexed, but I'm a person, I don't engage with negativity. I don't engage with toxic energy. So I did not respond. But let me just make it abundantly clear, because, you know, we have folks that go on the radio and on broadcast media and talk about respecting women and respecting everyone. But let us just make it fundamentally clear that it's not just about public pronouncements, but it's also about how you communicate with people in private when we talk about respecting women and respecting everyone. So let us just be mindful of that, that just because we disagree, it is not a permission, it is not an opportunity to be disrespectful, but we do have to protect that legacy so that another country cannot come in and claim Bouyon as their own by starting to allow their artists to claim the titles that belong to our Bouyon artists. So I wanted to make that point fundamentally clear. So the way forward, where do we go from here in terms of our cultural industry? And what immediately pops into my mind is the business of culture. How do we continue to reinforce that culture is a business? It is not only for entertainment, because I think we still have that mindset in Dominica that, you know, culture is for entertainment. And I'm really happy that we had a male panel, and I wish Daddy Chess could have joined us, because we know that a lot of our young men are gravitating to music, to film, to social media, and everything else that's surrounding the music and entertainment industry. So guys, your final thoughts, what would you like to leave with the audience at this time?
Yeah, well, for me, there are about three or four things that I think that are critical going forward. One, we have to establish the right institutions to support the arts and culture in Dominica, and to build a strong ecosystem for this growing industry. So whether it be through the Ministry of Trade, the work that is going on with the Dominica Festivals Commission in terms of managing festivals. So institution building is going to be a key requirement going forward, and we have to figure that out. So that can take a discussion on its own. So that's one thing. Secondly, we need to see much more thriving industry associations. So the AMP has to be much more functional. We have to see the Fashion Association that we started a few years ago needs to be rebuilt and strengthened. There is a Handicap Association. The Film Association was started and that disappeared. So we need to see those associations have to be put in place. The third thing is we need to look at, and maybe that's related to the institutions that we have to create. So things like incentive regime, trainings, infrastructure development. So that is the state. Now, in terms of the industry side, our individual professional musicians, our artists and artisans must look at their own personal development, must look at ways in which to improve their business side. So registering your business. If you're a songwriter, making sure that you have your copyright in place and so on. So you have a CMO that you work with and so on. So the industry itself must in fact invest and do things for itself. And then the first thing I want to highlight is, and is a point I had made a couple of weeks ago, following the death of my comrade Halibut, is the social welfare aspect for cultural workers in Dominica. I issued a call then for us to look at the cultural workers to contribute to the social security scheme, so that when things get bad, things get tough, later in their life, they have something to fall back on. Something that I myself personally will want to get involved in. I'm speaking with the Dominica Social Security Scheme about it, to see how we can maybe get a conference going and bring stakeholders into the conversation, to see how we can encourage, we can mobilize cultural workers to contribute to the Social Security Scheme. But my biggest dream would be a pension scheme for cultural workers down the road, where we can establish a fund, make people contribute, and after a certain time, they can benefit from it. But that is a tall order. But these are some of the things I would like to see happen in so far as the cultural industry is concerned. So I just want to rest. These are some ideas. I have a ton of ideas. I work in the region. Now I work in a group of Caribbean film and media people and television people right across the 14 member states of the OAS. I work in with 30-something fashion designers from OAS member states, and I am enjoying that.
Yeah, and suppose, I would love to engage a few of them, because I think we can learn so much from what is going on in the region. Because unfortunately, we tend to be, isolated as islands, and we don't.
I'll connect you. So we are doing some work with Guyana, for example, at this time. We're going to be doing some interventions with Guyana around fashion from next month until July.
Oh, that would be wonderful if we could have a program with them where they can educate us in Dominica about the way forward in terms of building our creative industry. So we'll be in touch. I'll WhatsApp you and we can figure out what that would look like. Yes, so thanks. So Glen, over to you. Your final thoughts, the way forward. And let me just take a couple of comments on Facebook before we wind down. So Sharon, nice to have you on board. Then Marlon says, more young participants will bring a younger crowd. Also, social commentary in Calypso has a wider reach. So let's make sure we got everyone. Alvin, you get the final comment. We definitely have to face up to the challenges of AI and technology. Look at how 3D drawing has reinvented how architects now do their drawings and designs. And the reality is AI is a tool, right? So with any tool that comes on stream, I think Soba's kind of alluded to this. With any technology that comes on stream, there's always a lot of concern, right? So we have to see AI as another tool that we can either use or abuse. So I think the onus is going to be on us to figure out how can we benefit from the opportunities that AI can bring to the table. So Glen, your final thoughts, and kind of just tell us a little bit about your Global Creole Festival, because we know you're doing some great work out there in Houston.
Okay, so going forward, what I said before, we need more of everything, really and truly, especially bloggers. We need people to get the word out there. We need people to put the latest music out there. We need people to keep the talk going and going and going and going. We need way more bloggers, because there's an internet thing we on there. Is social media time. If you're not on social media, you might as well get out of the business. So we need more bloggers to bring out the music, to bring out the artists, to shine lights on Dominica. We need more artists. If you look at Jamaica, they produce artists like every day. They have so many, but they keep on producing artists and artists. We need quality Bouyon artists, quality musicians out there. Because you're talking about how can we preserve the Bouyon, whatever. We really can't. The only way we can is keep on making good Bouyon. So when it comes to Bouyon, you think of Dominica. And we have to get ready. When it comes, it's gonna come a time when Dominica probably won't be producing the best Bouyon if we don't keep on growing. So you have to think of it like that. If we just keep the few artists we have and try to keep that, it will come a time where Africa will produce the best Bouyon artists. Now, if Africa get on the Bouyon scene, their population is 1,000,000 times bigger than ours. How can we stop that? You see? So what Dominica need to do is keep on producing and producing and producing quality work. Doesn't matter who sing Bouyon, who does Bouyon. If our own is always top tier, nobody can steal it away from us. But if we go mediocre and Africa start producing better Bouyon, guess where it's going? Africa. So the best way to preserve the Bouyon is to keep on doing great Bouyon as we are doing today. Keep the young people involved. As the older ones going, let the young one come in. More keyboardists, more musicians, more bloggers, more curators of events. So we need a whole lot of that. Because I'm telling you, the way the Bouyon going, a lot of people are getting into it.
Yep.
And if you mix Bouyon with something like Afrobeat, that thing sounds like you're in heaven. I'm telling you.
I can imagine.
So the best way to preserve the Bouyon is to keep doing quality Bouyon, Dominica Bouyon. Because if we don't, in the next 4 or 5 years, the best songs and the best artists will not be from Dominica. And we will still be named as Bouyon, because at one point in Jamaica, Lucky Dube was the best reggae artist out there. Some people might say no, but at one point, Lucky Dube was the best artist. Did that stop Jamaica? No, because they kept on producing good reggae music. And when Lucky Dube is one of the best out there, they have 20 that is good as him or better. You see? So that's what we have to keep doing. So as we said, education is very important, and especially for the business part. Let's touch on that. That's very important to me. I see in hip hop where some guys hardly have talent, but they make way more money than the greatest rappers out there. Why? Because they have a great business structure. They're more business minded. In the game, it is 80% business, 20% talent. I don't care how great you are of an artist. If you cannot put yourself out there and market yourself, you have no use. And if you have a little bit of talent and you can market yourself really good, you can be as better as the person with the most talent. So we're looking at educating ourselves, putting our business together. One thing we're lacking in Dominica too is people scared of hiring PR people. If you're a Bouyon artist, go in the studio and do as much music as possible. Have a team around you to handle the business affairs if you can. I don't know, sometimes we're cheap, but we have to invest in ourselves to be better and to make more money. A lot of times we don't have a manager. When I'm doing business, I hate to talk to artists. I don't talk to artists. If you don't have a manager, that's a red flag for me. I'm serious. I deal with the manager, not the artist. Because I don't want to friend the artist, because really and truly, I want to pay you as little money as I can, and you want to make as much money as you can. We're not gonna be friends. I want to do business with the manager. So please, artists and the bands, get a team around you, your PR person, your manager person, even have a person that, because of everything out there is a video, has a video man with you walking around the place. Build yourself, invest in yourself. Going forward, Dominica has a great product, and the only way to preserve it is to be better at it every day. That's the only way.
Yes,
you cannot
thank
tell
you.
Africa and do not make a bouillon.
Right.
You cannot stop that.
Right. Absolutely. And at this point, I feel like we have to trade back the bouillon by every time we make a new song, add Dominica in the lyrics, so people know this is a bouillon from Dominica.
Yes,
But
that could happen too. Everything you talk, put a Dominica hashtag on it. But
yeah. Narrin, thank you. Go ahead, Narrin.
Yeah, but I just want to say thanks for the opportunity, Simone and Glenn and Sobers as well. I've learned a lot. But what keeps coming to me, you said Sobers indicated that he had a copy of the national policy. I would like to see such policy move from lip service or a paper submit to actual reality. And at that point, the creative industry might be taken more as a business than a hobby. Some of the young people coming into, whether it's Bouyon or Calypso, you come in there sometime without real knowledge about digitization, copyright, and whatnot. If there is organization and structure, straight off, You coming in, these are the do's, these are the don'ts. You have to ensure that your music is registered. So whenever it plays on Facebook or whatever, something can be collective. There should also be incentive for private sector investment, such as tax rebates, things that would stimulate, because government alone cannot do it. To move the country, you would need private sector investment. And to get private sector investment, you must have some incentive. So yes, we have rich heritage, we have unique culture, but we lack structure. And once we can dedicate time to really putting that structure in place, then I think the rest might easier fall in place. But right now, guys are just doing things more and more. You see people like Signal Band from day one, because maybe people like Shirley is business minded. But a lot of the guys who went into Bouyon, they just went because it's nice to sing and it's popular and people dancing, but their structure coming in to the sector, they were not baptized in any business way. So if we move the national policy from lip service, who's taking pussy somewhere, to actual reality, I think the rest can really fall in place. The PR that Glenn spoke about and all the other facets that Sobers brought in, I think it has to start from there and then we work down.
Yes, fantastic, fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, gentlemen, and I cannot wait to engage with you again. And I am optimistic. Look, I'm an eternal optimist, right? So I always see the glass half full, not half empty. And so I am optimistic because I think we're seeing more and more traction in terms of the success of the Bouyon, and I'm hoping that will spur on success in other areas of this cultural industry. And maybe one day, Sobers, because we've been talking about that cultural policy for so long, maybe one day we'll finally have a program and say, yes, the government has implemented the national cultural policy, and we have a strategic plan for the way forward. So I'm looking forward to that conversation one day, Sobers. Maybe it will happen. Yes. Yeah. But I want to thank everyone for being here. Lambi, thank you for being on the console show, and Mr. G, everyone who joined us on Facebook. Don't forget, if you joined us late, you tuned in late, and you want to catch the entire program, you can always do so on Facebook and YouTube, on Push Past 10 or on Q95 FM radio, so you can catch the replay of the entire program. Alvin, it was great having you on board. He says, great program, Simone, great contribution from your guests. You may need part 2 to dig deeper into some of the issues, Alvin, and I'm going to invite you to join us for part 2. And I saw quite a few people in the comment section that would make great contributors to the program. Everyone knows how to reach me. Everyone knows someone who knows my phone number. So you can go ahead and reach out to me if you would like to do a similar program. But on a serious note, I want to thank everyone who continues to reach out for program ideas. If you as well, you're doing something that will positively impact Dominica, the Caribbean region, or diaspora, you can always reach out to me at pushpast10@gmail.com. That is PUSHPAST 10@gmail.com. So we want to thank again everyone who joined us. We are grateful to be on this journey as we continue to harness the power of technology, international radio, social media, and podcasts to leverage the skills and the expertise of our Caribbean people around the world to build that capacity needed for the sustainable development of Dominica, the Caribbean region, and our diaspora. So again, remember to follow Q95 FM radio and Push Past 10 on Facebook. And I want to thank everyone for joining us. So until next time, I want to wish you a restful evening. Enjoy the rest of your week. Sobers, Glen, Narrin, thank you for being here. I look forward to engaging with you again, so you can turn your mics off and bid the audience farewell. Thank you, Lambi. Have a good night, everyone.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Take care. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Roots Connections on Q. 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. every other Wednesday on Q95, the big station. Dominicans journeyed beyond our shores for decades in search of economic opportunities.